Hello guys. When I was coming back from college, I saw and discussed with my friends that what's happening here. Why the India is not developing. I mean in 1947 when India got independence, after that in just 2 to 3 decades, how China become such a fast growing country, but we are still just moving slowly. I mean why? So someone wrote that the difference was not started in a sudden from 80s. It started from 1949. To describe it in a metaphor, China and India were both kittens in 1949. Yeah, she's right. He's right. He would see whoever. The difference is China transformed into a tigerling in the first 30 years. When people questioning about the difference in size, they did not realize the complete difference of inner essence. One can get the answer when he only see half of the event. Without knowing the Enlightenment movement happened simultaneously, one just could not explain the secret behind Chinese Industrial Revolution. Do you think that the Industrial Revolution ever happened properly in India? Well, I don't think so. China in 1949 was not even wrong country. It was a horrible shithole. You can have a look on Angus Madison's research. Who is Angus Madison? Angus Madison was a British economist. He wrote a book, a famous book named The World Economy, A Millennial Perspective. And he was also a chief economist of OECD. OECD means the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. All indexes of China then, no matter humanities or economical, were worse than the average of Black Africa. Black Africa means the region between Sahara and the South Africa. If you use India as a comparison, in 1950, India had 3 times more railway than China. The life expectancy of India was 5 to 6 years more than Chinese. On major industrial outputs like steel, fertilizers, coal, cement, electricity, etc., India was ahead of China in magnitude level. This data proves that the rocket growth of Chinese economy, was not started from 1970s, it started from 1950. Despite a handful of disastrous mistakes, the economy of People's Republic of China managed to grow 7.2% in its first 30 years. The annualized growth rate of agriculture and industry output was over 7% even during the chaotic decade of the Cultural Revolution. In single economy, China was four smaller than India in 1949, almost to become equal in 1980. Just see that in 1949, just take it 1950, the Chinese folds were so smaller than India. But in 1980, both countries' folds became equal. Just mind that. But due to profound modernization in culture did not really happen in India, to the growth of China was always much faster. This past just become visible in recent 2 decades, but it has existed since very beginning. I mean, whoever wrote this is trying to say that the development or the things they did for the development has not just started in 2 decades. It started from the early age. I mean, it took minimum 3 to 4 decades. But what become visible is in the recent 2 decades. But it has existed since the very beginning. China made its comprehensive transformation to culture, but India did not. Yeah, right, correct. What China strive, but India overlooked is this. Anyone can see in 1952 when there was the PLA sport meeting in China, people saw that the army people who have gone to run or athletes are writing something on the track. I mean, the track is for running, not for writing. But why are they writing? What are they doing? Everybody thought so. These soldiers were athletes of racing. There was an abnormal rule, start running after riding. I mean, you have to first ride, then if you ride that, then only you can run. So this was just a small corner of nationwide 33-year-long anti-literacy campaign. Soldiers, when in front of you, you should remember this character after this match. In the People's Liberation Army, at that time, alphabets or other things are written on the backpack of the soldiers, and the soldier behind the soldier has to memorize them. And when the running or the marching or the training ends, he or they have to memorize all of them, all of those character or whatever is written in that. Cowherd boys. Anyone can see those that cowherd boys used to classroom on the cow bag. You know what? People may think that this is all white, but it was not truly white. You can see the result after some days. Not even also days, but after some years. Troops performed dramas about anti-literacy. At that time, troops used to move cities, and village to village to perform dramas about anti-literacy and how literacy can bring what? Mm, and literacy can increase the growth rate of the country. And actors and actresses also continued their story after getting off the stage. 60 years passed, and I am still deeply touched by their thirst of knowledge. Did such anti-literacy campaign create any profit to anyone? No. On the contrary, it was a huge expenditure of government. Education is very costly for a country drawn in literacy. What makes it worse is that the spending in education shall be unrequited at least a decade. Anti-literacy was just one of many aspects of social restore works PRC did in her early era. Anti-literacy campaign also happens in India, but I don't think that this goes very well. Still, I can see the Sarva Shiksha Abhijan is going on. There is high school and UP school and primary schools just in 500 to 600 meters from my house. But still, boys, girls of the age who has to study, they're working somewhere else or not going to school. Why all this is happening? Because no one is trying to make this all. If a boy is outside or doing some work or he has to study, I mean his age or her age is to study in the school, then is anyone say him or her to go to the school? No, no one thinks so. In here every people have the crab mentality. No one even thinks of other. Even the people who thinks of other are just few. I mean, if we have to increase the what, if we have to be a modernized world or be a first world from the third world. Remember, India is a third world, not first. So if we want to be first world, so how can we be? Just everyone has to think that how can we be successful. But actually no one is. Everyone is thinking to be a first world, but no one is trying for it. Even I'm not trying for it. Yeah, this is true. So, did such anti-literacy campaign create any profit to anyone? No, it was just huge expenditure of government. Education is very costly, and countries just drown in literacy. They has to spend a huge amount of money for education. So, have you heard barefoot doctors? Yeah, you heard that correct. Barefoot doctors. These amateur doctors with a small medical kit was a hidden backbone of how China doubled both population and life expectancy and exterminated several epidemics, despite it was under a total backlog from the West. Do you ever think that a doctor will go barefoot to village and village, town and towns to just serve the people and to exterminate the diseases or terminate the diseases, epidemics? But Chinese doctors did that. When I think about the local CHC in my area and primary health centers and common health centers, what bullshits are they? One day my mom was serious, so my father and I took her to the nearest community health center, and there was no doctor. Even the doctor in charge of that night duty has gone to her town, which is 32 kilometers away from the medical. And at that time, when the nurses or NM call the 108, the emergency service ambulance of the government, the 108 ambulance man were just like nothing happened. And when my father and I took my mom to the ambulance, the ambulance service people were like, why are you in a hurry? Wait, we have not opened the door. I mean, do you need 30 minutes to open a door? What the bullshit is that? I mean, this is how India is developing. If you are in an emergency service, you should do some hurry. You should be in a hurry. But no, they are just talking with each other. Nothing is gonna happen because no one is dying in from their family. And this is the crab mentality where people are in this country. I mean, people think that India is a drowning ship, and everyone wants to take the valuable things from the ship. No one trying to how can we make this drowning ship again movable or again. But I mean, you must have seen the movie Gazi Attack. Yeah, in that when the submarine became unmovable to uh, um, to any direction, it was just movable to up and down. But they still, mm, mm, but, but they still defeated the Pakistan submarine Ghazi. So why we can't do with India that thing? No one is trying to make it. So those amateur doctors double population and life expectancy, despite it was under total backload from the West. Have you ever questioned what happened to make Chinese women become most independent and equal in Asia? Only 70 years ago, they were still oppressed worse than what happened under Taliban. Now, two-thirds of self-made female billionaires are Chinese citizens. Wow. Have you ever heard about educated youth? And the heavy meaning with in this simple bar, the personal well-being of entire generation of educated youngsters was sacrificed as the country called upon and assigned them to move most remote, backward, and rural area of China to lead a spark of enlightenment over there. But if today we send the youth to the remote and rural areas to lead the enlightenment, they will not go. I mean, why do you hate the village and rural areas? Because they are not developed. So who will develop them? We will develop them. So we should do some effort to develop them. Then after that, the India will be developed. But no one is doing this in India. The list goes on and on, and none of them would be shown by economical chart. Even if they were mentioned, they were interpreted as part of radical political campaign. But after all, these money and effort were not thrown into nonsense. They made people better. Then the economical feedback came after painstaking but wise investment. Yeah, the investment in health, education was painstaking and so nonsense, but they were wise investment. I mean, you must have heard of a word, late mover, but fast mover. Yeah, don't be fast mover. Be late mover. Being late mover is good, but be fast mover. So after that, it's plain simple. Better people would do better in work. Nobody can deny that machines and structure are simply symbol of industrialization, and China indeed increased a lot of them in that period. What people usually fail to mention is how deadly China did beyond the material level, something which is more in essential. The people itself is modernized, but we are not trying to modernize the people. We are still in the old culture. But telling it the old culture is good. But have you ever seen anyone to taking people to the if anyone is not going to school, we should take him to school. We just see that in movies like Shivaji and like Shivaji the Boss and Three Idiots, etc. etc. But no one is trying to be a hero in the real life. The outstanding economic growth of China at then and after then did not come from nowhere. It is just a completely deserved but long waited reward of investment into mass of population. So finally he's trying to say that if we invest on the population, we'll get the good what? We'll get the good reward and the economy growth will be so fast. So you had never known how could each a barefoot doctor heal hundred of patients, educated thousands about epidemic prevention in their endless journey. Yeah, those doctors were really great. These days, the doctors even are not staying in their chamber in the medical. They are going here and there. So what will happen with the people? That's why epidemics happens and no one is educated about thousands of epidemics prevention. So you wonder how life expectancy of Chinese doubled in 3 decades. Yeah, all these goes to those barefooted doctors who were very honest with their works. You had never seen how the state empowered women with economic independence, guaranteed their equal civil right by the very first law of the People's Republic, encouraged them to get organized and fight for their enlightenment against any man who dares to be bossy. So you wonder how come today's Chinese women can do every job man does, even those considered man only in most other countries. Yeah, that's right. Even these time, the Indian government also doing SHG, that is self-help group, that is they are trying to give some money to the to a group of women, and they should do some business or whatever they are good in, and so that they should get some money and earn some money, and mm, they would give that money back to the government, and they should be independent, not dependent on their family. I don't think that the SCG is going well. Only 20 to 25% SSGs are doing well, but all are just thinking that if we will get 10,000 rupees, we are 10 members in our SSG, so we will take 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, and we will spend 10 to 15 days by that 1,000 in rural areas people. And then when our family members or my husband or son will go to work, he will bring money, and then I will give some interest. But if you should invest that money in business like farming, dairy farm, or vegetable farming, flower plants farming, pisciculture, then animal husbandry, things like honeybee and mm, seafood or pole, you can be better. But no one is doing that. You had never seen how many educated youth devoted their lifetime in barren lands to bring knowledge and start construction. So you wonder why Indian farmers are given much better water, heat, and soil conditions than their Chinese counterparts. But the yield harvest of Chinese farmers are folds more. Yeah, that's correct. Because in India, what I see, I'm telling what I see in the rural areas of rural area where I am living now. People are not totally educated about the pesticides or hormones or compost or medicines that they need to prevent some disease in their plants or pests. Just they go to the shop and they ask them, I am this year I sowed just rice or whatever they sowed in their field, and then the shopkeeper says whatever the shopkeeper will must say for his uh, right, mm, to get some to earn some extra money. So he says, take these chemicals or hormones or whatever, and just spray it or throw it on your field, and the crops will be good. How will that be good? If I am having fever, then I should eat medicine for fever. If I will eat medicine for what, headache, then that will not decrease my fever. Or if I have cold, or if I have any disease, so I have to eat medicine for that disease, not for others. So how will that affect? That's how. And the watering system in the Indian rural areas are not also good, so how will they get some good foods from the Chinese counterparts? You had never really understand how dedicated Chinese government was in practicing compulsory education. So you wonder why China could have once said writing and 98% literacy. Yeah, in 100 people, Chinese people are literate, total literate, 98 people. While many ethnics within India still can't understand each other. Even now, one fourth of population still can't read or write. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Only 75% of Indian population are literate, and still 25% are illiterate. And at last, if you have no idea about the Enlightenment movement happened in China, which India missed, how could you understand the difference between economic performance of China and India? People believe China in her early era, despite already did outstandingly in economic growth, was actually focused social and cultural transformation. In other words, modernizing the people itself was parallel, if not prior to modernizing economy. During this era, Chinese people was transformed from divisive, contemptuous, backward, feudalistic, ignorant, violent, obscure, drug addicted, discriminatory, etc. mobs incubated by a declining agricultural civilization into unified, confident, progressive, enterprising, disciplined, self-aware, equal, enlightened, healthy, etc. citizens, adapted to an emerging industrial civilization. The world outside China seems to have no awareness of such a great social transform project. It is very tricky and confusing when someone only researches the Chinese miracle from 1978 and only focusing the economical policies, because such an angel completely neglected how greatly and profoundly People's Republic of China achieved from 1949 to 1978. You really want to know the reason why China grew faster than India? I mean, really? No matter how horrible it sounds, no matter how grim the truth would be, well, it may look like sedition. But I give the credit to the liberation, which formally defined as New Democratic Revolution 1919 to 1949. It was a vital factor that made China could reach where it is today. During this period, Chinese people toppled down feudalism, imperialism, and bureaucratic capitalism in China. How could liberation related to development? Well, you see, when 400 million peasants were no longer private shops, when 50 million, yes, seven zeros, 50 millions opium addicted were rehabilitated, when morality and custom could no longer transgress law, when women were no longer accessory for men, when doctor and teacher expelled witch and courts, when the elected government took over the administration grassroots level from local clans and gangs, the people are getting much healthier, more energetic, more independent, so they work more effectively. Actually, I like the one party rule in China, because in India, 5 to 10 year one party, then 5 to 10 year another party. It's good to have democracy, but just see what happens in if there is a party. In the state, there is another party. In the panchayat or village level or block level, there is another gram panchayat. So when these two to three parties, they don't obey each other. They are not working for the nation's good. They are just thinking that how our party would be good, how people will praise our party. What should we do? They are not thinking that if we should do this for the people, then they will think that, yeah, this party is good. But no, they just think to what, make the people fool. But I'm glad that years or 4 years, actually it's developing. India is really developing these days. Whatever, slowly, but it's working. More. The liberation brought much more people into the labor force. It did so in a much larger scale than any other single historical event ever. The women were liberated from men, so the talent of half of population was no longer lacked in bedroom. Peasants were liberated from landlords, so the life of 400 million were no longer chained on the farmland of a rich. They began to have a career to pursue. The youngsters were liberated from feudal ethical code, so they were no longer puppets of elders if worked as this mechanism. The liberation made a huge amount of people join economic activity and also made them work more effectively than ever. China made such a progress in an unprecedented scale in human history. It naturally should lead to a miraculous economic growth. As I said, the fact is grim. Since our old aristocrats immersed in the illusion of perfect heavenly empire, our nation reluctantly rejected modernization. The gap between them and us were only getting more and more dispiriting. Our civilization was rushing faster and faster towards the brink of irreversible. To turn the fate of withering away, it would take dearly cost to achieve the liberation. The long war before it was also necessary. There is no way to reach the result without going through the process. In the harsh and everlasting struggle of revolution, consciously or not, everyone eventually choose side among different level of progressive or conservative. At last, the most reactionary part within the nation were removed to gain the final victory. The revolutionary gradually for a powerful military and a government with enough wisdom and resolution in timeless war. With the prevail of revolution, China would minimize the internal obstruction while profoundly modernizing the country. With such a strong ability in organizing, Chinese government would handle such a complex project. Industrial revolution, economic plus enlightenment movement in society mostly on track. With such a battle-hardened and war-proof army, China could defeat anyone's attempt to have it in modernization halt its modernization. India was lucky to avoid millions of deaths as cost of revolution. However, it's kind of like a karma. India also missed the chance of a true and thorough modernization. So when India was busy discussing religions, China was working on its economic policies. When India was busy producing, when there was a large number of, when the population of India was increasing, China brought the one-child policy. When India was struggling to give basic education to the people, China gave advanced education to the people. When India was busy giving jobs and seats to the reserved, China gave jobs and seats to the deserved. Still, I also think that India's reservation policy is an absolute disadvantage. The people are given jobs on the basis of their caste and not on their family's income or efficiency. That's the modern form of discrimination in India. I am not saying that the caste system is bad, but what is bad is, listen to me carefully. If I am a general or OBC, my friend is a SC or ST, which is scheduled caste or scheduled tribe. So if they don't have a proper economy in their house or in their family, then it's okay to give him or her the job. But if they have given the job and they are now at a totally high economic level in their family, and but my family is at a low economic level, so if we again give the job to their family, it is actually wrong with the one, because my family did not got the good economy, and again after that did not got the good economy, but his family got the good economy and again got the good economy because they are just SC and SC. So I think that jobs are must be given on the basis of family's income or efficiency, not on the basis of caste. When India was busy learning English, Chinese spent the same time thinking and implementing Chinese language. Yeah, it was really good. Because Indians are taught English first and science later. Chinese, however, use their mother tongue and excel in every field. Just think that if your mother tongue is Hindi or Marathi or Telugu or Kannada or Odia, then just think that if you will study in Odia, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, or in Hindi in the colleges and universities, how will your knowledge will be? Just think that. I'm not saying to go to various language. I'm just saying about a common language. When Indians were busy struggling with license raj, China gave way to open trade and focused on export. Yeah, that's what now the government is thinking about open trade. Just for that open trade, China is now the hub of manufacturing. When India was struggling with emergency and other instabilities of government, Chinese had the Communist Party taking up decisions bluntly and paving way for development. Yeah, it was good. Actually, when there is one party, the good thing is the decision is more quick, more the decision is more clear, good, and that the decision is taken more fastly. But when there is many parties, what happens is the decision is taken lately. The decision is not the decision is not what mm, if not efficient, um, like this, and there are lots of hurdles comes in the development. While India was busy India was busy working for the Americans and doing the tertiary work. China was committed to become a manufacturing hub in the world. Yes, India's job depend on the outsourcing. When Trump comes in and we Indians lose jobs. However, in China, the manufacturing exports make it a stable economy. All this. So, finally, I would like to say that till everyone or every Indian is not every, don't take it every. According to the report, 75% of Indians are literate or they are good in education. So I'm just telling those 75 about the development. If we 75% will think about the development, then the 25% rest will develop automatically. Just think it. Actually, I'm not saying anything wrong because when I was coming today from my class after the college, I came in a bus that was not good. I mean, here in my area, not a even single boss is good. And when I see or talk with my friends from Japan, Korea, China, and Arab Arab world or Morocco, then Canada, the thing is totally different. But why? I mean, China developed in 30 years. Why we can develop till we got independence after 1947? Then what's wrong with us? The wrong thing is no one is actually trying to do it. Everyone is just thinking about their own. What if we will think just 20 years about the country? If everyone will think every day, if the 75% people will think about the country for just don't think it just 2 decades, just think it for 1 decade, just every day, just think it once and for 1 decade, and see how it will be good. Actually, maybe I don't think that anyone will watch this video or get anything to understand, but why I'm broadcasting this video, the reason is actually I don't like the situation here. Yeah, it's real. How great is India after all? The thing's not good. I mean, just some states are number one in paper and pens, but not in actual. Even the roads are muddy, up and down, and the और रोड की हालत पूरी तरह से खराब है. क्या हो रहा है ये? So after all, I think that if there will be one government, so that the India will develop, and if you will think something, don't comment on it. Okay, make a video and post that on YouTube. You don't need to anything to edit the video or whatever. Just broadcast whatever you like and dislike. And then if you want to share the link, you can share the link with me. Thanks for listening if anyone listened to me. And I hope India will develop soon because I am really being irritated from my life here. But China, the Robert Madison said that China was a shithole, but this time it seems like the inverse, or vice versa. Okay, this is for today. Actually, now I'm feeling so good because I feel like I told whatever I want to say to all the people of India, so that if anyone will listen it and make a video on YouTube about this and tell the other one to make a video about this, so that I think it will be good, and so that I think it will reach to the government and they will do something for us, not for us, for them also, because everyone is just taking things from India and going away because no one want to be in a drowning ship. But we, we the citizens of India can make it movable again from drowning. So it's up to you. Jai Hind.